So what is the SameSite cookie attribute and why is it relevant for you? So the SameSite attribute in cookies controls in which cases cookies are sent along in cross-site requests. Let's just make an example to see why this is like important and why you should really pay attention to that. So let's say you have an online shop, yourshop.com, it's like some website, and it talks to a backend. And let's say you're using session cookies for authentication, right? So you log in, you get like a session cookie back. With a session ID, it has like an expires attribute with some timestamp in the future. And then it has like the SameSite attribute, which we're going to talk about in a second. And then hopefully HTTP only and secure. So secure means I only transmit the cookie via secure channel, so via HTTPS, because otherwise you have man-in-the-middle attacks, right? If you only use HTTP, someone could just steal the cookie. And HTTP only means that no JavaScript can access this cookie, which is also a good idea. Yeah, so far so good, right? You log in, you get your cookie back, and now for every follow-up request, you expect this cookie to be attached, and because otherwise the shop doesn't know who you are. And that also works. There's always one problem with cookies, and this problem is called cross-site request forgery, or also CSRF. And the attack is basically that some evil guy is exploiting the fact that you are logged into another website and is then making like a request from another domain. Okay, so say you are logged into your online shop and for whatever reason later you somehow end up on this website here, evilwebsite.com. And now what this website could do is it could submit like a form to yourshop.com. And since you are logged in, right, your cookie hasn't expired yet, normally without with the SameSite set to none, this cookie would be sent along to the backend. The backend would think, hey, this is a legitimate user, and then you could potentially perform some actions, right? So CSRF means you're logged into one site and then another malicious site is exploiting the fact and kind of pretends to be like a legitimate application and makes like a request. And this is obviously what we want to avoid. Now, this is also the reason why the SameSite attribute was invented. So SameSite attribute none means that no matter where like the request originates from, I'm going to attach the cookie. And this is of course dangerous, right? Because if you by accident end up on this website, then the website can just make like a request. One more note here. I just said here like a hidden form. So let's assume this is like some standard form submission, because when we're talking about AJAX calls, there's more things to be considered, right? Cores, for example, and pre-flights, but that stuff doesn't happen if you have like a normal form submission, right? So cores can, or like the cores pre-flights can provide you with some level of protection against CSRF because the requests are being pre-flighted. However, this only works for XHR requests or AJAX calls. So if you have a standard form submission, like that won't work. Cool. So let's say this is like let's just assume this is some server-side rendered application, right? And you make like some standard form submission, something like this. Then you have the problem that the cookie is sent along and, well, then the attacker could do something. And that's why lax and strict was invented. So lax means I'm only going to send the cookie, or lax is better in terms of security than none. And what it says is I'm only going to send the cookie along if there is a top level navigation change. And the cookie is also only sent along if the HTTP verb that is used is considered safe. And the safe HTTP verbs are get, head, and trace. So the ones that do not change the state. So that means in that case, if the cookie, if you were to say SameSite equals lax, in that case, the cookie would not be sent along. So even though you are logged in, the fact that you come from a third-party website and that the cookie is set to lax and that you use this post HTTP verb, in that case, your browser does not send the cookie along. Yeah, so lax is like one level better, so to say, than none. And the most aggressive form, which actually provides like the best level of protection, is strict. Because what strict says is I'm only going to send the cookie along if the request comes from the first party itself. Okay, so only if the request originates from yourshop.com, then only then I will like send the cookie. Now you might say, well, that kind of sounds good, right? So why is not everyone using strict? Well, the problem is that this might have a few usability issues. So let's say you are in Gmail, right? You just ordered something on your online shop, and now you have this link and it says, hey, thank you so much for your order. You can see your order confirmation here. Now, if you click this link, then technically speaking, you're still at gmail.com, right? And now you make like a GET request to like this shop, but you're like on a different domain, right? You're on gmail.com. That means the session cookie that you have before is not going to be sent along if the cookie is strict. And that would lead to a strange issue, because if you click this link, then you would get an error on like this page saying, hey, this order was not found. Kind of logical, right? Because the shop would say, hey, this guy's not logged in. I don't know this guy, so I'm going to display an error to not leak any information. So strict can lead to a bunch of security or to a bunch of usability issues. And that's why people tend to use lax, because, right, if you remember, okay, when the cookie is set to lax, then the cookie is sent along one if there's a top level navigation. Yeah, if you click a link, there is a top level navigation, fine. And the second condition is that it must be a safe HTTP verb. Since you're making like a GET request when you click on a link, you would actually be able to see the confirmation without logging in. So that's why like this lax is like a good compromise, so to say, between security and usability. The thing is that it's not sufficient to only have lax as a cookie. So you need to have additional security mechanisms if you use lax. And in the last year, Chrome went ahead and just changed the default for all cookies to lax, simply because people tend to forget that to explicitly set it. And then you really have a situation, right? It might be vulnerable. So by making it the default lax, you can at least eliminate quite a bunch of CSRF attacks. Not all of them. That's also what it says in the RFC here. So I have like some further reading here, like these RFCs, so RFC 6265. And yeah, if you want to know all the details, then you can read it there. But these days, like all cookies are pretty much lax. Just be in mind, if you have strict, then you might have like some usability issues. Yeah, so if you have any cookie, make sure that, or usually you should make sure that it's HTTP only, secure, and at least lax. So don't use none. None is like a security issue. Cool, so that's it pretty much for this topic. Actually quite simple. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Is there anything else you want to see? Just let me know. And yeah, if you have any other questions, leave me a comment, send me a tweet. My Twitter handle is @productioncoder. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.